Hello dear friends, welcome to another day here on planet Earth and as well another video. So this is going to be the first video of today. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Thor Ragnarok video, or maybe I'll leave that to the weekend. I do think that's going to be the better champion. This video is going to be focused on Guillotine and the buff. I'm going to be playing footage over the top of me speaking because, hey, you know, this is the best I can do with the editing side of things until I get my PC back later on, hopefully, fingers crossed today. But I've got to give a call to find out what the update is. So let's get down to business. Let's talk about Guillotine. In a nutshell, this actually feels like a very disappointing buff, and I was all hyped for this. I did think it was going to be quite a good improvement, but unfortunately the numbers just don't seem to be there to tick a box for me. So what I like to do, similar to Dr. Disrespect, he says violence, speed and momentum. For me, it's damage, speed and momentum. Three things that are very important when it comes to Marvel Contest of Champions. The damage side of things isn't there. It isn't there. As like going over my notes, it's just a case of like the fun side of things and the fun damage side of things around Guillotine has gone. For me personally, creating a synergy group where you're able to ping off like a huge amount of damage by throwing an SP3 was something of a beautiful thing about this champion. She still works as a standalone champion, but it's just not there. Or at least to the point of going like, it's as I would have hoped it would be. And she still feels like, what's the point of a synergy grouping around her? Is there more point to it? And therefore, she's not a solo champion to play out and take into content. I don't really know. But what I do know actually is that the damage isn't there, the momentum isn't there, and the speed in which to do it is not there. Like before, you were able to build up very quickly soul charges, and then you're able to throw off an SP3 and take down enemies. So we're talking like anything in the region of a 5-star in 50 to 60 hits. If you had a Morningstar synergy and one other synergy, so like 2 other synergies, maybe even like 3 and saying, okay, well, Night Thrasher. But essentially, you didn't need many synergy champions around this champion to kind of do something. And the problem is now with this champion is how you play it. Like, I was finding that you could do parry heavy and get that bleed kind of like debuff on there, or the bleed amplifier. So I think it's like is it bleed charge or whatever it is. And the thing is with that helps out to a degree to like improve the damage potential of bleeds. But essentially you're finding yourself repeat around an SP1 and then trying to go like, okay, well, am I building up this? Am I doing parry heavies all the time? Am I trying to avoid, because as soon as you get to 15, as soon as you get past 10 souls, you're then able to do more damage. Based on like, you know, not throwing special attacks and stuff, which is then part of the kit that you have to throw special attacks in order to get certain things, to get the SP3 to do the more degen damage on the extended point of timer. In a nutshell, it's like overcomplicated a champion which didn't need to be overcomplicated, and as well kind of, well, lost the damage potential she once had, especially like, as I said, like the damage, speed and momentum. The speed and momentum side of things have just been sucked out this champion. And that's just like how I feel that this champion is not as fun as it once was. And that's a problem for me, really. Because I like Guillotine how she was before. And I was really hoping with this new buff, like what she'd be doing is she'd be having more damage. But more damage from a point of like the other aspects of kit. But it's like, yeah, it's just one of these disappointing things when these buffs come to light. And it's like, does put us in the hood situation. Funny enough, another hooded champion. Hood got that kind of like buff that wasn't exactly a buff. And then, you know, another hooded character in the shape and form of Guillotine misses out a little bit. I kind of think like there is some sustainability still from the regeneration aspects of the champion, but is it something to kind of like mitigate the likes of Suicide Masteries? I just don't think that it's really there. Yes, it would improve the potency of damage output, and yes, it would be kind of like, it's good enough. But the issue is that you're just going to have to build your souls to have improved attack rating. And the thing is, those souls built, which equal to better attack rating, I just don't get why they're not as potent as maybe they should be. Because that's another key factor, like potency of those. Look, let's face it, like you need the old guillotine. You needed to awaken and have higher signature in order to do the most amount of consistent damage based on building souls, based on I think it was the bleeds, and then kind of like being able to do the massive SP3 damage that you do, or kind of like the rotation of which. So the champion before had to be awakened to be good. That's just in my opinion. And now we're at a point of going like, well, that's not really the case now. It's like the rotations are a bit kind of meh. And as I said, like the biggest problem with Marvel Contest of Champions is speed. Because like at the end of the day, there's going to be people that want to get other stuff done in the game, or they want to like they want to be quick in what they do. And unfortunately, now that what they've done with Guillotine is they've made a more of a, you've got to get past 100 hits to then take down enemies, which is just not, it's just not it, unless you're running Suicide Masteries and depending on the rotation of what you use. But it's just like very disappointing. I did have a lot of hope for this champion when I saw the buff, but that's the problem with like having a lot of hope, and I'm going to have to be very kind of like optimistic, not optimistic, I'm going to be very kind of like pessimistic in future. It's going to go, not sure about this. The signature ability now in comparison to the old signature ability. So the new one now is whenever the opponent is immune to Guillotine's personal bleed effects, she has a 90 whatever, because mine's 160 signature on my 5-star is a 94% chance to do a matching ruptured debuff. And that's just the thing, isn't it? There's no, Kabam are creating something of like very limited new champions have a emphasis on awakening their ability. And that's a problem in essence, because wouldn't it make more sense to make awakening gems more available to then have better awakened abilities for champions, rather than going, oh wait, this champion doesn't need to be awakened to be good, which, look, let's face it, that's a good thing in any case. But if you're kind of like getting outwards of kind of like, I don't know, an additional 10 to 20% extra damage as a result of awakening champions, then it means it's something that players will be more interested to get awakening gems. But Kabam don't really kind of like allow 6-star awakening gems to be that prevalent. And the same thing with 5-star awakening gems. Yeah, one every 2 to 3 months, depending on like what event Kabam are running. And you know, so it's like, well, make it more available, make awakening abilities more interesting for players to kind of go for. And this one's all about like going against you know, robots, bleed immune champions, which, you know, I get that kind of like creates something there. But then wouldn't it be better to do some kind of like soul based debuff of some kind? Like the rupture debuff is like kind of like, it's got a skull on it, I believe, so it's like, oh, degeneration. So like changing the way that soul kind of like works, of having like, I don't know, soul punishment or a soul debuff kind of is better than doing something like a bleed orientated. And that's just maybe the mistrick here, that kind of emphasis on bleed is kind of like, well, did we need to do that? And at the same time, overcomplicating a very easy to use champion with, you know, instead of having 3 synergies, which were before like Night Thrasher, Morning Star, and to a degree Guillotine 2099, with Guillotine, and now kind of going to a situation of going, like, what's the point? And also the slow rotations, a slow damage build up, it just, I don't know, to me felt disappointing. I've played with this champion a bit this morning, tried to get some like rotations off and kind of figure out what is the best way for playing this champion, and that's just it, isn't it? Yeah, it's just, even like the special one, this kind of like pain link debuff. While active, any non-physical damage taken by Guillotine is also inflicted on the opponent as physical damage. That applies for literally just like very little and very specific content. So it's not like this champion is a solo champion in a team of 5 that you can just go, okay, well, I'll bring in Dr. Doom, I'll bring in this champion, this champion, this champion as part of a team. it just doesn't work the same way. It doesn't slap the same way as it used to. So the Guillotine buff, what was everybody's thoughts on this? As I said, for me, it just was something I look forward to a bit too much. And yeah, I just felt very kind of like let down by it, to be honest. And do miss the old buff. So I don't know whether or not Caban will revert back. I think there's a big forum presence in response to this champion, so I'd be interested to see where people are at, and I'll probably cover it tomorrow in the MCN. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. Thoughts in the comment section about Guillotine's buff, and I shall see you all very soon. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye.